The Philippines also demanded that Chinese vessels leave Bajo de Masinloc immediately. The agency notes that China's aggressive actions, particularly its use of water cannons, caused damage to PCG and BFAR vessels.
The Philippine Coast Guard says their ship sustained damage of up to 2 to 3 million pesos. Among those damaged in the incident were the BRP Bagakay's LED screen display, satellite compass, canopy, and railing.
Pagdating po kanina, nire-repair na po siya. At hopefully ma-repair siya within these few days para makabalik uli siya sa total ready for sea. So ipapacheck po natin kung may damage dun yung isang antena at kung makaka-apekto po dun sa navigation ng barko.
This year alone, the Philippines has filed 20 protests against China's Coast Guard. And all in all, under the time of President Bongbong Marcos, there have been a total of 153 protests so far.
Philippine and U.S. troops held live fire exercises in Palawan today as part of the Balikatan drills. Their simulated enemy, threats coming from the sea. Gerard de la Peña has a story.
Two U.S. Navy landing craft air cushions, or LCACs, arrived at the shores of Rizal Town in southern Palawan. It brought with it the U.S. Army's High Mobility Artillery Rocket System, or HIMARS, which initially landed in Palawan yesterday. What you're seeing is part of the HIMARS rapid infiltration exercise of the Balikatan between the U.S. and the Philippines, where soldiers are trained to quickly deploy such assets in different locations.
So in order to get the HIMARS down here, we flew them down from Luzon into Palawan, got off the aircraft, put it on a ship via LCAC, moved it down the coast off of the LCAC, and then here on the beach to fight side by side with Philippine and U.S. Marines. So the fact that we showed that type of mobility across the frontage of the Philippines, I think is fairly impressive.
The HIMARS of the United States and the howitzer units of the Philippines were positioned in isolated parts of the shore. Members of the Philippine and U.S. Marines are also scattered around the area, all of them waiting to attack a simulated enemy from the sea. The live fire exercises started with a simulation, the participating troops receiving information of a supposed enemy threat from the sea. The American soldiers fired continuously using the HIMARS. This is the first time that this rocket launcher was fired in Palawan.
Practice rounds that shoots out to kind of several kilometers all the way to our precision guided rounds that can go out to multiple tens and multiple hundreds of kilometers in order to target multiple threats.
The next attack was launched by the Philippine Marines through its 105 howitzers. Small boats positioned in different areas near the shore served as floating targets. And while the simulated enemy got closer, Filipino soldiers kept firing 50 caliber machine guns and mortars. Some armored personnel carrier, or APC units, also moved forward towards the shores. The Philippines does not have HIMARS yet, but it is among the military's wish list under the AFP modernization program.
Any new equipment will be beneficial to the armed forces, not only for the Marines. The performance of our Marines very well.
For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
From the waters of Palawan, let's move down south over to Cagayan de Oro, where the local government has declared a state of emergency after a contractual dispute over the city's water supply came to a head. Mobile journalist Francis Orsho is in Cagayan de Oro and has the story.
The dispute stems from a long-standing agreement between the city's water district, or COWD, and distributor CDO Bulk Water Inc., or COBI. COBI said the water district has an unsettled balance amounting to over 470 million pesos, which the city is refusing to acknowledge, much less pay. Because of this, COBI said it may be forced to stop supplying water to Cagayan de Oro. On May 1, Wednesday, CDO Mayor Rolando Uy declared a state of emergency, deploying police to guard water facilities and mobilizing its incident management team. In a statement, Kobe said they remain committed to providing safe drinking water to CDO residents, but that negotiations failed to get anywhere because of the lack of representation from the side of the water district. Kobe has yet to proceed with the disconnection and says it's still hopeful for a resolution, but the local government is already making other plans.
Tuloy pa rin ang contingency plan natin at saka yung resolution na inaaprubahan sa City Council na magbigay ng pahintulot sa Kaudi na magbili ng purchase request o purchase order sa ibang mga bulk water supplier na Cagayan de Oro.
If Kobe is forced to shut off supply, approximately 800,000 residents could face water interruptions.
Sa tingin ko, kailangan bayaran nila yan. Kasi pag hindi nila binabayaran, wala kaming tubig dito. Paano kami magkakatubig?
Para bang it's perplexing knowing na hindi mabayaran niya. May pera naman ang COWD eh.
In Cagayan de Oro, mobile journalist Francis Orsho, we are One News.
To help shed some light on this issue, we have a spokesperson from Cagayan de Oro Bulk Water Incorporated, or COBI. COBI is a unit of Metro Pacific Water, and joining us tonight is Attorney Rodrigo. He's the legal head of Metro Pacific Water. Attorney Rob, good evening. Thanks for making time for us tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Right, so it's quite a complicated issue, but the crux of the matter seems to be the city's outstanding debt to COBI. First off, I wanted to get the facts straight. What is the actual figure? I'm seeing some reports say 479 million pesos, others say 426 million pesos.
Yeah, okay. The 426 million pesos is actually the figure from last year. Every month, that figure actually grows, and then they pay a little. The differential between the rate that they are paying and the rate that we are charging, that's what causes the figure to bloat or to balloon. As of today, I checked with our finances, and it's at about 440 million. That's the correct figure right now.
Okay, so 440 million pesos as of today. Over
Yes.
how long a period was this debt incurred, and how many times have you tried to collect it?
Well, it all began in 2021, where our contractual increase automatically kicked in. At the time, the Cagayan de Oro Water District, or CAUDI, actually asked us to defer collections of this increase because of the pandemic, which we gladly did because we understood the situation, and we understood that they had difficulties collecting from their customers as well because of the pandemic. However, the agreement was only up to 6 months that we would defer the increase. Thereafter, the increase would kick in. We even wrote them a letter a couple times. First, reminding them of the contractual increase, and second, confirming that we are deferring the 6 months, deferring the increase to 6 months. Come the deadline, we wrote them another letter informing them that we're imposing the new rate in 2021, which they did not object at the time. So unfortunately, at the time they stopped, they did not pay the correct amount. They continued paying the outdated amount of 16 pesos and 60 centavos per cubic meter, where the rate was already increased to 20 pesos.
All right, Attorney Rob, it would also seem, if you go through all the reports, especially from this year, that there were a couple of attempts, multiple attempts by all parties to actually come to the negotiating table in good faith, at least in the beginning. So as far as COBI is concerned, why did negotiations ultimately break down? What were the sticking points there, and where are we at right now?
Well, I wouldn't say there was actually negotiations in good faith. There were a couple times where we called for a meeting, we asked for a meeting, and they didn't show up. There were a few meetings where Lua already assisted us and facilitated the talks, but yet they were incomplete, so we were not able to get any resolutions from their board. What's critical was the last meeting, the very last meeting on April 30, which was our deadline. Lua called for a special meeting, for a face-to-face meeting down in Cagayan de Oro, where our representatives flew down to Cagayan de Oro to meet with the water district members, and only one representative went. It's for the past few months that we've been trying to negotiate with them. We've been desperately reaching out and trying to ask for possible solutions that they may offer to us. In fact, we weren't even asking for payment anymore. We were just asking for a formal recognition of the debt and a clear plan on how they would pay us. Unfortunately, even that they couldn't give. What's peculiar is a few meetings ago, in the presence of Lua, they actually admitted and acknowledged the debt verbally. They also acknowledged that there was a contractual increase every year, and at that time they didn't say it was invalid. The only outstanding issue right now is actually the interpretation of the parametric formula on how much should the increase be every year. And the sticking point actually there is just the application of the VAT.
What were some of the reasons that you were given for the lack of representation from their side?
The last very crucial meeting is that they had prior commitments. That was the reason that they gave us during the last meeting, which is sad because our president from Metro Pacific Water, our assistant vice presidents, we were fully represented during the meeting. They had to move their schedules around just to make it work, and they couldn't even give us the same consideration.
But to be fair, did you give them enough lead time?
Oh yes. This was actually an invitation from Lua, and they spoke to the general manager and one of the directors directly, invited them. I believe, I'm not exactly sure if the chairman of Lua reached out to them, but he did reach out to us, which is why we made it a priority to make sure that we went.
Just to confirm, this was the April 11 or 12 meeting, right?
This was the April 30 meeting, the very last meeting we had.
So the other day, just the other day.
Yes.
Okay, Attorney, you mentioned about a price differential that they refused to pay. So taking a look at the agreement, it seems that the supplier, which is Kobe, is allowed to adjust the rates every 3 years based on average consumer price index. Is that correct? And
that is accurate.
What were your reasons for the price increase? Were they fair and reasonable?
Well, these price increases were negotiated at the beginning of the partnership. The increases take effect every 3 years. It's based on an agreed parametric formula, which takes into account the inflation rates, which are published by the PSA. We pretty much have very little or no control of how much the increase will be, because it's pretty much controlled by the inflation rates that are published by government itself. This was negotiated by both parties before we entered into the contract, and this was even reviewed by the OGCC. So all parties concerned, including the OGCC, saw that the contract was valid, and there was nothing really wrong with it.
Okay, so now that it has come to a head and the meeting the other day did fall through, what's the next steps for Kobe? What are you guys eyeing? And now that there is a state of emergency, what's going to happen to Cagayan de Oro?
Well, the water is still continuously being delivered to Cagayan de Oro Water District. Unfortunately, it has come to the point that despite our efforts in trying to reach out with the water district, it seems that they are unwilling to cooperate, and that they're not sincere with trying to find an amicable settlement of this matter. It came to the point that our partners, Rio Verde, as I mentioned earlier, the bulk water supplier, and Kobe, mutually agreed that we would suspend delivery of the water to Cagayan de Oro Water District until they could come clear with a certain plan on how they could pay us. Unfortunately, armed guards were deployed to the property. They infiltrated the building, and they're preventing certain personalities from entering and actually getting access to any valve that we could shut down. So right now, hopefully moving forward, we will try to make efforts and reach out to the water district and hopefully still try to find a way to make this work. But of course, at the same time, simultaneously, we are already studying all our legal options on what we could do, especially with what we believe was an unlawful use of police power, and it was not properly implemented. And we actually fear for the safety of our people down there and the people of Rio Verde.
And would there be, attorney, who can you run to if you're a company in this sort of situation? Is there some sort of a regulator? Is it their job? Where can you run to?
Well, of course, the courts of law would always be an option. Second, the regulator of water in the Philippines is LUA in this case, which I believe they have been facilitating our talks, and they've been pretty much involved with the negotiations as well. Hopefully, they could also reach out to the water district that, maybe, convince them to come back to the negotiating table with us and maybe continue our discussions, no? But at this point in time, I really don't know how open the water district is to continue talks, considering that they intend to go straight to Rio Verde to purchase water. I'm just hoping that the water district and Rio Verde both know that if such an event happens, there are legal repercussions that will take place.
So just to make that very clear, even though things have come to a head and this issue has made it to the headlines, Kobe, the supplier, is still willing to come back to the negotiating table and talk about this outstanding bill.
Yes, because the last thing we want, of course, is to stop giving the people of Cagayan de Oro water. That's the last thing we want. We're always open to listening to whatever the water district may offer us. But unfortunately, they have, since 2021, we haven't been offered anything substantial or anything at all. They haven't even given us any firm courses of action or proposals. So it's really tough for us also to move forward with this. But of course, coming from Metro Pacific, we're always willing to listen naman.
Okay. We're going to have to leave that there for now. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Attorney Rodrigo, Legal Head of Metro Pacific Water.
Just a short break for now, but when we return, we will be speaking with Cagayan de Oro 1st District Representative Lordan Suan, still on the water supply issue in the province. Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
Circling back to one of our top stories, the water supplies dispute in Cagayan de Oro. Joining us now over the phone is Cagayan de Oro 1st District Representative Lordan Suan. Congressman Suan, good evening. Thanks for being with us.
Hello, good evening.
Congressman, we were just talking to Attorney Rodrigo, who's the legal head of Metro Pacific Water. He said just 2 days ago, April 30, there was supposed to be a crucial meeting to which representatives from all sides of this issue were invited, including actually your office. Did you attend, and what happened at that meeting?
Yes, yung meeting po last April 30, which my office also attended, and which was actually the deadline set by Kobe before they would cut off the water supply. Yung water district po namin didn't even send the board of directors. Yung chairman lang ang pumunta. And that meeting was crucial. Yun na sana yung tamang panahon para mapag-usapan ng problema at ma-come up ng compromise. Pinush po namin ng chairman sa LUA, yung chairman ng water district, na dapat pumunta lahat ng board of directors nila sa April 30 meeting kasi trabaho nila yun eh. Pero yun, walang board of directors na dumating.
Ang issue ba, Congressman, is pag walang board of directors, hindi sila maka-move forward? They can't make a decision?
That's true. Hindi sila makagawa ng resolution because it requires a quorum.
Okay. So, kailangan ng quorum from the board of directors of COWD.
That's true.
Correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So, pinaspone nyo na lang po yung meeting ulit?
Hindi na siya na-postpone kasi wala talagang wala na silang schedule for a following meeting.
Okay. Kong, sa pananaliksik namin, no, mukhang last year pa po ito, mukhang nasa 1 taon na itong problema. Paano po ito umabot, no, hanggang sa puntong ito sa pagkakaalam ninyo?
Actually, this year lang po akong na-involved dito sa issue ito kasi this was entirely between Kobe and the water district. And it really stemmed from the unpaid debts ng water district regarding Kobe. So doon talaga nagsimula.
Kong, we're taking a look at a report from Sunstar, and it says that Cagayan, based on the latest PSA data, is actually the second richest city outside Metro Manila. And we're showing that on our screens. That's the latest PSA data that shows that its GDP per capita, which measures the wealth of the economy per person, stands at almost 344,000 pesos in 2022. Yet kanina nga po ay nabanggit sa amin na ang utang ay nasa 440 million in total. Bakit po kaya hindi po mabayaran yung outstanding debt?
That's true. We're supposed to be the second richest city outside Metro Manila, but we have this problem with the most basic necessity, yung water. I think this all stems from the inability of water district to come to the table and negotiate wholeheartedly. Kasi hindi sila pupunta sa mga negotiations. Nakita ko yun personally nung sa April 30 na meeting na hindi talaga sumupot yung mga board of directors nila. And I think a week before that, sinorse talaga namin yung chairman ng water district na, ma'am, dapat nandun talaga yung mga board of directors mo. So their inability or unwillingness to actually talk about the problem, I think that's the cause of all of this.
MPIC Water mentioned that their price increases are because of inflation and they have no control over it. Do you have any insight as to why or what the issue is with the price differential?
I'm not an expert on the computation of their prices though, but I heard that it's related to inflation, but I think that's one of the things that they should sit down and discuss and come up with a win-win solution. They should decide kung ano talaga yung computation, kung may inflation ba talaga, and maybe just stick to the contract.
All right. And then si Mayor Uy, of course, has repeatedly refused to acknowledge the debt. Yun nga yung problem, as you pointed out. But he now says that he's looking at tapping other suppliers in the city. And my question is, does he actually have the power to do so, considering that the city government does not actually have direct control over COWD, the CDO Water District? Pwede ba yun?
Yes, pwede naman ang mayor maghanap ng other water suppliers, but this is not an easy process. It takes time, probably months or maybe even a year or so. Kailangan din natin ng long-term solutions to the water problem in CDO. So probably yun yung goal niya by reducing the non-revenue water, which is at 50% right now. But we also need to address the immediate problem because frankly, yung threat ng Kobe of cutting water supply should not be taken lightly. Di naman natin pwedeng sabihin sa mga tao na, magrasyon tayo ng water. And totoo, yung mayor natin, the mayor does not have direct control over the water district. And, to be clear, I just want Cagayan de Oro to not have water interruptions. Yun lang naman ang talagang gusto ko eh. So, water district needs to act independently of the mayor because they are independent of the city government.
Right. Congressman, syempre, naiintindihan natin medyo magulo yung issue. And at the end of the day, isa lang naman talaga yung nagmamatter, di ba? Na hindi maputol ang tubig dyan sa Cagayan de Oro. Now, you are the congressman of the 1st District. We know that Kobe supplies 40% of the water in all of Cagayan de Oro City. Gaano po kalaki ang apektado in terms of percentage sa distrito ninyo? And as a lawmaker, what options are open to you na pwede mong gawin in your capacity since nasa legislature naman po kayo talaga and not with the local government?
Yung sa district ko, from what I know, aabot po ng 80% ng district ko ang affected pag mawalan ng water supply from Kobe. So that's why I needed to speak up and, do everything I can to prevent water interruption in my district and possibly even in Cagayan de Oro. And as a lawmaker, I would love this issue to be fixed between Kobe and Water District by themselves without intervention of LUA or Congress. Pero I'm really thinking about bringing this to Congress through a legislative inquiry if they are unable or unwilling to sit down and try to resolve this problem.
Okay, and have you given yourself a deadline, Congressman, on when you might do that?
It was supposed to be this Friday, pero ang gulo na eh. Ang gulo, ang bilis na mga pangyayari dito sa Cagayan de Oro City. So, I guess I'm giving myself until next week to see kung may updates pa ba. But if not, then I will push through with asking for a legislative inquiry.
Okay, and we will continue following this story. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Cagayan de Oro 1st District Representative Lordan Suan.
Just one quick disclosure before we close that segment about water. Metro Pacific Water and One News are both part of the MVP group of companies. And we're going to pause for another quick break for now. But right after that, we will be speaking with Ateneo de Manila University President Father Bobby Yap, SJ, about why the school fell off the top 100 in the latest higher education ranking by the Times. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News.
As we reported yesterday, no Philippine university made it to the top 100 of the 2024 Times Higher Education Rankings for Asia. Ateneo was still the highest, though, ranked local university, but it actually tumbled from the 84th place in 2023 to the 401 to 500 bracket this year. And here to talk to us about that big drop, we have with us Ateneo de Manila University President Father Bobby Yap, SJ. Magandang gabi po, Father. Welcome to the big story.
Good evening, Gretchen, Regina, Shawn. Good evening.
Okay,
Glad to be here.
Father Bobby, to be honest, as an Atenean, this statistic hurts me.
She's been mourning since yesterday.
Yeah, but we're still number one, by the way. But, but can you explain to us what happened here? What do the numbers show? Is it, we pointed out yesterday about the focus of this study being research. Is it just is it a deviation from the usual standard for the schools, the assessment of the data? What happened here?
Before I answer that, can you allow me just to say that I'm still very pleased that we're still a top-ranked university locally, and that's a good thing for us. And I'd really like to thank our faculty, our students for all their hard work and the excellent achievements that they had.
I told you we're the optimists. Yeah, we are quite optimists.
We have to look at the bright side. So yeah, as you explained, the THE World Ranking, university rankings are really a research ranking. It's really based, if you look at their criteria, about 60% is really the research output. And it's not only just doing the research, but it's really how much you publish, and you publish also in peer-reviewed journals. It's not in any journal that you can publish. And then also how much your research is cited, how much impact does it have, and what is the research reputation of the university. So it's really a very research-based ranking. And the key thing with compared to last year and this year is that they did revise the criteria that they had. And it was sort of expected that because of the new criteria, the revision, that we would decrease, and we decrease significantly. The other part also is that in the previous ranking last year, there are certain papers that you are allowed to be included, and you can include them for 5 years. Previously, we had some papers, we had some faculty who were able to publish in very prestigious journals, like our School of Medicine published in the Lancet, which is a international journal, and that was included and highly cited and highly considered. But this year, we have fewer of that, and so that the fall of in fact all the universities, including UP and LaSalle, to the level. It's really because it's a very research ranking, and it shows us that really Philippine universities are just really starting to strive to become research universities.
And having said all of that, Father, I was just wondering if Ateneo de Manila University, maybe other universities here in the Philippines, are actually considering putting, more emphasis on research in that segment. Is that anything that's in the near future for higher learning institutions, or specifically in Ateneo?
What I'd like to say first of all and emphasize this is that for us in Ateneo, rankings do not define us. Rankings do not define us as a Jesuit university. It is mission that defines us, and what we can do so that we can form men and women for others, who will serve society, who will be a force for good. That's the measure that we really want to have, the indicator, the criteria that we want to be judged. It is mission that defines us.
Hey, Father, allow me
That
to
said,
ask.
though, the mission that we have involves teaching, it involves formation, it involves outreach, and it involves research. And clearly, the comparison with other world universities and Asian universities really shows that we do have to invest more resources into research. And the key thing of what we can do is really what else can we do to really build a research culture, a research ecosystem in our universities? What incentives can we give? And one of the key things really is in other countries like the US, in the UK, in other countries, in almost all the countries the outside, research is funded by government. It's not funded through the tuition income that you have. There is some external funding that we get, but it is not up to the level that other countries spend on research on. So if there's anything that government can do, it is really to be able to say, yes, we will have funding and we will provide resources so that we can really fund the research that we need.
How hopeful are you that the government will actually, grant more money for research in the face of all these education problems that we are facing right now?
Yes, that's correct. There are really more basic issues that we have to face. The PISA results, as we know, with basic education is very alarming. And the learning deficits that we have because of the pandemic, there are certainly other priorities. But I just came, I joined the Education Commission 2, the EDCOM 2 study tour. We visited higher education universities in the US. And there was a lot of examples, models of how we can support research much more. That study tour was really to focus on looking for models about how we can deepen the research of universities. I was with the president of UP, the president of LaSalle, and two senators, several congressmen, members of EDCOM too. So there is some sense that yes, we have a lot of problems in the education sector. Maybe this part is not a great priority. But if for the future, for the medium term, for the long term, for the country, we do have to start investing in the resources that we need to really strengthen ourselves as research, and also research that's not just for journals that we put on the shelf and gathers dust, but we want to have research that will really have impact on the social problems that we have.
Father, I'm not quite familiar about the research culture in Ateneo, but who does the research? Which journals do you submit? Is it the ones taking their masters? Is it the professors or the college students? So, kanino pong research ang sinasubmit po ninyo?
It's really the research by the faculty. And they go and they have projects and they publish. And that to say that we have been able to achieve it, like last year we did very well. We were number 86, I think, showed you that there is good research done by faculty. And we really try to support it. We have programs for the people who just finished their PhDs. We have support for them so that they help get them published. And of course, our graduate school, which is about 2,000 students, we also try to help them so that they can really engage in the research. But to answer your question, it is really the faculty that gets involved in the research. And surprisingly also, well, maybe not, but some undergraduates also do excellent research that even they're still undergraduates, they get published already in these very peer-reviewed journals, index journals. So that's another positive thing that's there.
So this year, Father, what was the bigger problem? Was it a funding issue? Was it there wasn't enough time? Was it a lack of resources, lack of people writing? What was the bigger issue here?
I think it's really the lack of production. And as I said, it's not only just research. You have to get it published and in high-quality journals, and you have to get cited. Other researchers must cite you. And then the research must have impact. So the research standards of the rankings are quite tough and quite high. So we need to get more involved, and we need to provide more incentives that support research like that. So yeah, in some sense, it's resources, it's funding that would be necessary. As I said, in other countries, it's really supported by government.
I was wondering, Father, if time was a factor also in terms of research papers. I mean, we did just come from a pandemic and long lockdowns. Did the faculty members perhaps have more time to focus on the research during the pandemic vis-a-vis now when things are opening up again? Or would that be a factor, or is it really a funding thing?
It could be a factor, but with the THE rankings, I think you notice in the report there are universities that are called reporter status, because you need a minimum of research output to qualify for the rankings. And those about 10 universities in the Philippines who are still on reporter status, that means they're still accumulating the research output that they have so that they can qualify to be ranked. The 5 universities that are already there means that we have met the minimum over the past 5 years, that we have enough research output to qualify. So it does take time, but certainly the pandemic could have also dampened, slowed down the process also.
Well, it's good. I think that we now have zoned in on a potential huge area for improvement, research it is, and we do hope there will be more investments for all universities.
Yes, for all
Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for
Hey, thank
joining
you.
us. Ateneo de Manila University President, Father Bobby Yap, SJ.
But of course, for Gretchen, Ateneo is still #1.
It's still the top out
No,
of all
you know, Hearing it from you.
She's happy. She's happy. She'll take what she can. All right, moving on now to another big story. We cannot end tonight's newscast without talking about this. Life imprisonment for businessman Cedric Lee, Denise Cornejo, and 2 others for illegally detaining TV host and actor Vong Navarro back in 2014. Maricel Halili with this story.
Ma'am, nagulat ka ba sa nangyari promulgation ngayon, ma'am?
From the Taguig Regional Trial Court, News 5 got to exclusively capture Denise Cornejo and Simeon Palmaraz, or more popularly known as Zimmeraz, being brought directly to the Taguig City Police Station. The 2 were handcuffed and were immediately subjected to medical examination and police booking process. They also had their mugshots taken. This comes after the court's decision on actor TV host Vong Navarro's case. In the decision of Taguig Regional Trial Court Branch 153, Cornejo, Raz, Cedric Lee, and Ferdinand Guerrero were pronounced guilty beyond reasonable doubt in the case of serious illegal detention for ransom filed by Navarro. Navarro was detained in Cornejo's condominium unit in January 2014. There, he was allegedly threatened and beaten by the 3 accused. They also reportedly demanded 2 million pesos for the release of the actor-host. All of these fall under the case of serious illegal detention for ransom, which carries the penalty of reclusión perpetua or lifetime imprisonment, as stipulated by law. Due to the sentence, the bail bonds of the accused were automatically canceled. This means they were immediately processed for detention. They were also ordered to pay 300,000 pesos in damages to Navarro. Only Cornejo and Raz attended the promulgation at the Taguig RTC today, meaning that they are the only ones processed so far. At 3 in the afternoon, the 2 were loaded into the police vehicle. They wore yellow t-shirts from Taguig City Jail. Raz was directly taken to the Bureau of Corrections in Muntinlupa, while Cornejo was transferred to the Correctional Institution for Women in Mandaluyong. The court also ordered the issuance of warrants of arrest for Lee and Guerrero. There is also a whole departure order against them, so they cannot leave the country. But this afternoon, the Taguig police received information that Lee will surrender. Vong Navarro did not attend the promulgation, but speaking to his legal counsel, Attorney Alma Malyonga said this has been the justice they've been long waiting for.
We do not think this is a misfortune. This is justice being done. And the accused bearing responsibility for the crimes they committed. Is very, very happy above all, but it's still parang there's a mixed feeling dito because it has been, ang tawag nito, roller coaster ride. Diba? So he's still assaulted by a lot of bad memories about what has happened.
For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
In other news, Gomburza star and MMFF 2023 Best Actor Cedric Juan is breaking new ground as MediaQuest's newest talent. The company launched MediaQuest Artist Agency, or MQAA, and had Cedric officially on board today. The launch of the talent agency comes as MediaQuest explores more opportunities in entertainment. As for Cedric, he says he's turned down offers from other talent managements and is excited for what's to come under MediaQuest.
I was a dancer before, bago ko maging actor. Tapos yung singing, kasi parang feeling ko, parang when I did Mula sa Buwan, parang sabi nga nila Pat sa akin na parang may brilyo yung boses ko. I think kailangan ko lang siyang aralin ulit. And yung iba pang mga genre ng acting, like for example, comedy, sobrang hirap ng comedy. Drama, I think nahihirapan pa rin ako.
Araw-araw gumagawa tayo, nagpapalabas tayo ng teleserye sa mga plataforma na meron tayo, pero wala tayong sarili nating talents. No, apart from sports, we're very mature already in sports, we're very mature already in news, but in the entertainment space talagang wala. Ang daming lalabas na bagong mga teleserye, maraming lalabas na bagong mga films. You know, we're going to try to vie for the MMFF again, and it would be really, really good kung talents na natin, no, yung nagfu-fuel doon sa mga palabas na yon.
Before we go, time for our big picture tonight. Not so good. Here is a look at the heavy traffic along the road level of EDSA Kamuning flyover southbound in Quezon City, which was closed yesterday because it will have to undergo retrofitting. The MMDA has since advised motorists to take alternative routes and expect heavy traffic, as the flyover will be closed to private vehicles for 6 whole months to make time for the repairs. So heads up for those who use the flyover for their daily commute.
No wonder it's been a little bit extra traffic since yesterday.
It just depends, I think, where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Do you pass?
Northbound, right?
I did.
That's southbound.
Southbound. It's
okay.
southbound. So northbound is not affected, just southbound.
Just the southbound bit.
And I did pass there kanina.
But even just closing off a small segment already disrupts everything.
So you have to turn in and then go through Quezon
But
City.
this is in the middle of busy Kamuning.
Very.
So if you
Very
can
busy.
find a detour, avoid that area. Maganda rin doon sa may Araneta Center, tapos
Pwede sa
ilalabas ka ng
Aurora.
After na ng Cubao.
But now that you've
Hindi
told
naman ako
everyone
kanina.
the workaround, yun din naman
Well,
with
wala
the
kang
traffic.
choice kasi may tao doon nakalagay detour. Dumaan ako kanina, mga 4:30 p.m.
Yung mga bus, they allow them to ply the EDSA busway.
Still good.
Sila lang yung allow.
So bago tayo magalit, no, again, the retrofitting that will happen, it's to parang reinforce the base for earthquakes. So we really need to. We can't get so mad because it's for our own safety.
That's right. That's a very good point. Just focus on 2028, the subway, when it opens, okay?
Or
Just
2029.
Just 4 short years, 4 short years away. Sabi kasi ng Atenista focus on the positives. Okay.
Tama, we're gonna be optimistic.
4 very short years away.
And they're gonna finish it in exactly 6 months, maybe even in 5 months and 3 weeks.
Well, let's hold them accountable. Let's get back to this moment 4 years later.
Okay. 4 years later, but for tonight, that's it for the big story.
We are in One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.